Hello everyone, today we embark on a very interesting journey. This journey is not only about discovering the potential hazards to humanity in the era of artificial intelligence, AI, and AGI, but also about participating in safeguarding humanity's freedom from potential tyrants and freedom usurpers. The journey is about understanding the risks that AI and AGI pose if dictators and tyrants are able to take control of it, and what we, as citizens of the world, must do to ensure that our species collectively prevents this from happening. These new technologies, such as AI, blockchain, central bank digital currencies, metaverse, advanced computer vision, and resulting surveillance and deep-fake technologies have the potential to create a digital prison from which escape may be impossible. When George Orwell wrote his anti-authoritarian classic novel 1984 after the end of World War II, there was a belief among many free nations of the world that fascism and autocracy had been soundly defeated once and for all. Even in the mid-1930s, long before the US or Britain had entered the war, there was a common belief in both nations that they were somehow immune to the type of tyranny they saw taking place in Germany, Italy, Spain, Russia, and elsewhere. In fact, this belief was so widespread that in 1935, it inspired Sinclair to title his own anti-authoritarian novel after the commonplace refrain, "It can't happen here." Of course, as common as this belief may have been, many, including George Orwell and Sinclair Lewis, knew quite well how misguided that belief was, because they had watched firsthand the Nazis transform the German political landscape with little more than well-chosen words and carefully produced propaganda. Both Orwell and Sinclair understood that the freedoms nations enjoyed were far more fragile than most of their people imagined. This is why George Orwell wrote his novel titled 1984. It was to awaken people. And frankly, he was unapologetic because he wanted his novel to serve as a warning to the democracies of the world about the danger of underestimating the threat of fascism and totalitarian autocracy. At the core of Orwell's warning is the message that propaganda and curtailing freedom of speech is the absolute root of all tyranny, and a nation can only be free to the extent that its citizens can speak freely and keep propaganda from flourishing. In his novel, he exposes nearly every aspect of society which willingly or unwillingly empowers Big Brother's propaganda machine. In this case, Big Brother means a fascist regime. He highlights large sectors of the government, bureaucracy, and police dedicated to falsifying documents, making fake cases against citizens and arresting them, erasing and manipulating evidence, torturing citizens to make confessions, and managing the intricate legal process and paper trails of the tyrannical regime's campaigns of deception and control. In many ways, this mirrored what was happening in socialist totalitarian states like the USSR and China then, but is happening in many countries now. Orwell provided a clear message to the democratic societies of the world that the key to warding off autocracy and fascism is preventing the government from creating a monopoly on information. As long as you uphold freedom of expression and allow for the existence of a free and independent press, no government can successfully perpetrate the kind of propaganda necessary for totalitarian tyranny to take hold. During the decades that followed the publication of 1984, the major Western democracies of the world seemed to heed Orwell's advice, albeit oddly just for themselves, but sadly not for many other third-world nations. It would be fair to say that uprooting functioning democracies through manufactured consent and regime change in third-world countries by Western powers was largely made possible, only because of control over the currency, media, and freedom of speech of those countries. In the Western democracies, while these vital freedoms of speech and expression have certainly come under attack throughout the years, they have not yet succumbed to an assault unlike third-world nations. And as a result, the forces of authoritarianism and oppression have never gained more than a momentary foothold in the West. However, the East is littered with stories. Many nations in the East succumbed to authoritarianism and oppression, and some are still under a military regime. As the 20th century gave way to the 21st, the Internet revolution happened. Of course, the arrival of the Internet transformed every aspect of the way society created, consumed, and disseminated information, taking away control of the media from a small number of controlled broadcasters and publishers, and giving it over to anyone with a computer. At first, it seemed as if this great democratization of information could finally deal a fatal blow to the threat of autocracy and fascism forever. After all, with the ability to create and distribute media now available to everyone, How could any government ever hope to control overwhelmingly a nation's information to successfully undermine the truth and perpetrate the kind of propaganda necessary for an authoritarian regime to wield power? Unfortunately, it hasn't quite worked out that way so far. Instead of becoming a steadfast, decentralized beacon of truth, the internet has instead only made the truth become less relevant than ever before. Given such a variety of contradictory information, many people have simply lost faith in the truth. And when the truth becomes irrelevant, there no longer exists any need for would-be tyrants to create a monopoly on information at all. On the contrary, they merely need to make their propaganda more attractive than the truth to achieve the same result. In the end, we are left with a reality that not even George Orwell could have imagined, given the choice between truth and propaganda. In a free and open market of ideas, many people are choosing to believe the propaganda. With the arrival of artificial intelligence, we are currently at a critical juncture in history where the technical possibilities in media manipulation can fool mass audiences in unimagined ways. The dangers of authoritarian rulers of getting hold of AGI first and usurping total control of power and the masses has become much more real. This is because powerful AI, especially AGI with AI swarms, can allow widespread and deep surveillance, advanced algorithms, and AI transformer technology can enable large language models to perform monitoring and surveillance of millions at once. This lethal combination of AI swarms, central bank cryptocurrencies, and computer vision in the hands of an authoritarian and tyrant will enable them to suppress any form of dissent at its roots. They will be empowered to eliminate all threats to their dictatorships, possibly even forever. The technology available today is 100% capable of distorting democratic discourse. It is capable of manipulating elections. It is capable of eroding trust in institutions. It is capable of weakening journalism. It is capable of exacerbating social, ethnic, and religious divisions. It is capable of destroying the reputations of prominent free speech and pro-democracy individuals and elected officials. It is capable of destroying new candidates for office. And it is capable of eliminating pro-freedom journalists. And the real scary part is that once implemented, there will be no escape from the digital prison. So now, more than any time before, we find ourselves keenly aware of the fragility of our freedom and tasked by history once more to protect it. Luckily, the means and methods that despots have used throughout history to establish their tyrannies have been carefully documented so that we might know how to recognize and resist them. This video series is a tribute to George Orwell and an effort to carry on his work to awaken, warn, educate, and inform all citizens of the world of the potential loss of their freedom if they do not remain vigilant. In the new era of hypersurveillance and deepfakes, vigilance is no longer an option but 100% mandatory to avoid the ultimate catastrophe of permanent loss of freedom. Once again, like 1984, this series of videos makes no apologies about its intentions. Its sole ambition is to call on the voices of the past to warn all citizens of the world about the present dangers, in the hopes that we can collectively fight for our freedom and a better future. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and stay tuned to this channel and also share the message with others. And do not forget to press the like button.